All right, you guys, I'm gonna share some really quick thoughts with you this morning about how we're disconnecting from ourselves. And I've been thinking about this a lot for some reason the last couple of days. It was something that I had to go through a couple years ago and really go through this journey of self-discovery on it, but it's helped me so much. And it's re-popped up the last few days. And so I wanna share it with you. As I was going for my walk this morning, my normal movement right away in the morning, get some sunlight, practice that gratefulness, and then start hydrating for the day, it really popped back up again. So I went and got the camera as I'm starting legs here. And so what happens so often is we disconnect from ourselves in really odd ways. And what I mean by that, and this is why we don't get the progress we want. We don't get the progress we want in our life with our man boobs, our gut, losing the weight we want, getting in shape we want, or even having the relationships we want in our life, or growing our business. And it's because we are being a different version of ourselves in every different aspect of our life. And so what I mean by that is when you're going to work and you're in the boardroom, you are a different version of you. And then when you go back home to your wife, you're a different version of you. When you interact with your kids, a completely different version than when you go out with the guys. And this thought process has some nuance to it because you're thinking like, dude, why would I be the same as I'm hanging out with the guys as I would be with my 5-year-old daughter? So I understand that nuance and thought process that you're thinking when you're thinking that, or why would I treat the guys the same way the people that work, the same way I would treat my wife? I get that. And I'm not talking about how we are the interaction with them. I'm talking about you being who you truly are. And every time you're not truly being you and you're putting on a mask when you walk into work, or you're putting on a mask with your wife, you are abandoning yourself. And every time you abandon yourself, a little piece of you dies. I did this forever. I did it, and I didn't even discover this until this past year. I went through this a couple years ago. I went on this journey of self-discovery, but there was one missing piece left that I had to discover this past year. And it was this piece of abandonment. But I never wanted to be different in different areas of my life where I was at work or at home, but I was. And it was tearing apart all of these different relationships. Even with my best friend, we went through these different ways because I wasn't being my true self. I was too afraid to be my true self with him. And then I was too afraid to be my true self in front of my wife. And over years and years and years, it starts to crumble, and a little more of you dies, and a little more of you dies, and ultimately then you're in this misery and you're in this pull of like, I don't know which direction to go. And so there has to be a rediscovery. You have to go on this journey of refining yourself in what the normal term is people say is like, I got to go through this healing journey, and there's nothing wrong with those terms because there is wounds that have to be addressed along the way in order for you to be okay with this and move forward and forgive yourself. My last piece of the stage on this was literally like I was sitting down one day on my bed, just breathing and relaxing. Some would call that meditation. And I literally went into this vision where I was sitting in front of my 6 or 7-year-old self. And I looked at him and I went and knelt down and I told him I was sorry for abandoning myself. And it was because back then, what I went through in my childhood was my parents got a divorce and I was that middle child. I was that kid that I wanted everybody to be okay. I wanted everybody to get along. I wanted everybody to so I put on this false smile and this false happiness of everybody, everybody's gonna be good, I'm good. And I did that for years up until I was 30 years old, 32 years old, whatever it was. And so there comes a point then where you have to start this rediscovery, and that's a challenge because you're letting go of things you believed, or you're changing the way you think about things, whatever it is. And that is a challenge, but it is one that you must go on if you want your life to feel in alignment. Because the alignment piece is why you're feeling so out of whack right now. And it's because you have work self, you have spouse self, you have kid self, you have the boys self, whatever it is. And you need to bring all of this together and be one, which is yourself. And no matter what room you walk into, you have to be yourself. And this is why I love health and fitness, because health and fitness is the relationship you have with yourself. And so when you go into this fitness journey, this health journey, you start to discover things about yourself, the way you self-sabotage yourself or what you're struggling with. And it gives us this opportunity to learn about ourselves. We can start asking ourselves deeper questions. When we binge eat again, we can ask ourselves, why did I do that? And we can find out, like, oh, this was my response to this trigger that happened today. And then we get to address the trigger. So I hope you understand what I'm saying there. What I'm saying in short is that fitness is the classroom where you get to step into and start learning about you. That brings awareness to our life. And when we start having awareness then is the mechanism. What do I mean by mechanism? Think about it like this, like the gears within the watch, or like all of the gears within a lock. Awareness is that mechanism side where you get to see how your gears turn, how your mind thinks. And so you get to start saying, like, oh, this is how I thought about that. And now you get to re-gear yourself in thinking a new way. And so you get to make new choices. And that the choices then you make from being aware bridge the gap between you, where you are today, and where you're wanting to be. And we get to bridge that gap, and you get to be yourself, which is called transformation. And transformation is the longevity of your life. It's not behavior modification. When you went through this little fitness challenge or 75 hard and you lost a bunch of weight and you're like, yeah, but you can't maintain it. There's no longevity in that because it's unsustainable, right? And so the true transformation is the longevity of our life that we get to experience. That is the special piece. That's the journey of life that's so much fun. That gap I was talking about, the gap is the life piece where we get to make the choices. And so many of us miss out on life for so many years because either A, we're stuck in the past, worrying about mistakes we made or things that happened to us that we can't let go, so we grasp hold of those things in the past over there on the left-hand side, and then way out on our right-hand side, we have the future, and the future self seems so far away and then we think about the past of, well, I can never be that because of what I've done in the past, and then we stress about the future, and we just ping pong back and forth between the past and the future, and we never get present with ourselves in the moment because it's ping pong, past, future, and we're right here missing the gap in the middle. Don't miss the gap right here in the middle, which is life. So pulling this all together for you, when we start participating in the now, take off the mask, the facade of all the acting that you're doing, and you start just being yourself. Ask yourself, who am I? Who am I? How does the real me think and treat people? And you start thinking, like, dude, actually, I don't like it when I lose my shit on people. Like, I don't like it when I do, it feels good in the moment, but then I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like the disconnect. And that feeling of like, oh, I don't like that. That's the disconnect from yourself. Some people say like, that's conviction. That's not wrong. There is conviction in that, but it's conviction because you're disconnected from who you really are. And so you're like, dude, I don't like that feeling. And so you need to just be aware of those thoughts and those feelings. That's the awareness piece. And that piece then pulls us back into alignment of who we really are. But then that's where you need to be conscious and be like, oh, this is who I am. Like, I'm kind, or I'm loving, and I'm patient. And that's when we can start actually being our real self, no matter what room we walk in, no matter who we're interacting with. And we feel so much better about our life. And that's when things change. That's when transformation happens. That's when the relationships in our life start to flourish. That's when our businesses start to grow. That's when we start making the money we want to make. That's when we start getting healthy like we want to, mentally and physically. And that health happens internally first. The internal change has to happen before we start seeing the external around us start to change. The relationships start to change. Our business growing start to change. Our health and how our clothes fit and how we look in the mirror start to change. It all happens inside first before it manifests outside of us. So really think about that, you guys, this week. Think about the difference in where and how we act compared to who we really are. Really focus on that this week, you guys. I love you. Have a great day. And don't forget, live beyond average.